With the recent release of Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, we got a whole load of new Mega Revolutions to play with in Gaspat, and I'm very much looking forward to talking about them today. Or at least I would, if it wasn't for my 3DS capture card taking forever and a day to get here from Japan. So, let's do something different.
Oh, you're lucky I've got half-written scripts lying all over the place, otherwise I'd be making a list about my favourite Easter eggs. Again. But no, in a crisis there's only one place to turn, and that's to some of my most cherished moments in video games. We all have levels we hate, ones that need doing at some point in the game, but this video is all about the complete opposite. Those levels, or crucially levels I've experienced that I immediately wanted to experience again for one reason or another. The weird, the wonderful, the emotional, and the downright fucking insane. It's a goddamn party over here. Conker's Bad Fur Day as a game is subject to a lot of split opinion. Lots to enjoy about it, like its graphics for the time and very solid voice acting, but then again, lots of unbelievably aggravating moments tend to sober these positives very quickly. But that's taking Conker as a game. Take it as a medium for satirical humour, and it's a completely different story.
No one who's ever played Conker's Bad Fur Day has ever played it because of its gameplay or its story. I mean, they're not too bad, they function, but the reason why you'd ever play the game is for its vulgar humour, its satirical humour. There's references everywhere.
The references to movies in Conker's Bad Fur Day are as restrained as a cow with the trot, but you're always glad to see them when they pop up. And for me, the best of the lot is a fantastically unsubtle nod to The Matrix, complete with trench coats, blackout shades, and of course, all the action happening in mind-blowing bullet time. And Conker did have a few levels which delved into a shooter game, but I feel this one in particular, which takes place en route to a bank vault and is hence called Heist, brings all the fun while leaving the aggro behind. Yeah, it's a little dumb, alright, really dumb, but you can't play Conker's Bad Fur Day and take it seriously. You'll miss out on half of its charm. If it didn't come with my PS4, I'm not sure if I would have bought Far Cry 4. Yeah, it's a vast overworld with lots to do, but I never did finish Far Cry 3 because I didn't really get into it. But with it being my only PS4 game at the time, I decided to rectify that with a sequel. A lot of the campaign missions see you choose between two different rebel leaders with two opposing sets of ideas. And so you reach a mission involving a brick factory where people are making drugs. You're given the option to either destroy the factory or secure it for later use, missions entitled Basic Chemistry and Advanced Chemistry.
Now you might think that on the face of it, exploding a factory is a hell of a lot more fun than securing it. You gotta go in, all guns blazing, shooting everybody that moves, blowing things up. Fantastic time had by all. But I think the hint of advanced chemistry in the mission's title gives away that there's more than meets the eye.
Well, this mission came the fuck out of nowhere. You gain access to the factory by shutting off generators, and almost immediately, you start tripping balls. It's not too bad, but I'm pretty sure that soldiers aren't supposed to burst into colourful explosions while funky Indian music plays in the background. Whatever, got a job to do. So you kill the chemist and head for the exit, but oh wait! I'm still high as fuck. So you tzimek et lick a couple of times and make your escape. But not before you mow down the remaining soldiers with whatever overpowered weapons the game decides to give you. Seriously, you might have some shitty assault rifle going into the factory, but that'll get replaced with a grenade launcher, a machine gun, and a goddamn flamethrower, still with the vibrant explosions. Advanced chemistry indeed.
Because I'm now doing weekly countdowns, in case you can't tell, I actually have a lot of topics to play with, but as a consequence, some of those topics overlap with other topics, and as you're about to see, some of the things which can go on one video can easily go on another video.
Tell me if this sounds familiar. It's time to talk about a level from Metroid Prime which is really cold. Aye, you can try and escape it, but the majesty of Phendrana Drifts will catch up to you at some point. Other locations in the 3D Metroid games especially might have undertones of everything wanting to kill you, but Phendrana Drifts acts as a bit of a breather. Granted, you'll find plenty of hostile bad guys along the way, but I felt like this was the first location in Metroid Prime that actively allowed you to take in the environment around you. It might not be that big, but Phendrana Drifts feels massive. Pretty sure you're supposed to be gunning down aliens and being hit by magic rocks, but the first time I made it here, all I wanted to do was explore it. Never mind distress signals and space pirates, I just want to chill out here for a bit. People can sort their own problems out, seriously. As someone who likes music almost as much as oxygen, rhythm games strike a particularly strong chord with me. They're a little basic, but surprisingly enough, they got some damn fine music in there. What's even better than a rhythm game though is a normal game trying to be a rhythm game for a short moment. Combining genres can go terribly wrong, but a platformer rhythm combo works a lot better than you might think. Anything the Bit Trip can do, Rayman Legends can do better.
Before Rayman Legends came out on the Wii U, they had this little thing called the Challenge app, which was free, you could download it, it's sadly no longer supported, but it had specific levels you could go through and challenge other people and go on an online leaderboard, and also they had one music level in there, and it was incredible.
At the end of each world in Rayman Legends, you get the chance to play a music level, basically a short level where you jump in sync to some music. It's all pretty simple. They of course get a bit more complicated through the game, but they've got nothing on what happens at the end of the game. Because if you unlock the final world entitled Living Dead Party, not the insanely difficult bonus level from Rayman Origins, you're treated to a whole load of remix music levels. And then all hell breaks loose. Holy hobnob, since when did Rayman Legends break my TV? The first couple of levels in this world do some weird things, but the last one, an 8-bit remix of Granny's World Tour, is genuinely difficult to play because of what the game does to your display. Not that I'm complaining or anything, this is genius work, where the biggest obstacle isn't the level you're fighting through, but this kind of shit.
Nowadays you don't get any prizes for guessing the final battle of your standard Mario game, and I know the RPG is changing up a little bit, but most of the time you're going to be fighting Bowser, and you can't stop it. He's the main bad guy. He shows up a lot.
So while there might not be any point in hiding who you're going to fight in the final battle, I reckon it's still worth building up the fight in question. Hey, if you know roughly what's coming, what you build instead of suspense is anticipation. And no level in Mario has done this better than Bowser's Galaxy Generator in Super Mario Galaxy 2. Oh, now things get confusing because I'm showering Super Mario Galaxy 2 of all games in praise. If you ever wanted to see what a level looks like when you cram in every great aspect of a game into one rip-roaring area, Bowser's Galaxy Generator is the place to go. In between amazing music, incredible scenery, and of course, using nearly every power-up available to you in the game, including throwing Yoshi a bone for the last stretch, this level is every bit spectacular that the actual final battle with Bowser was underwhelming. I mean, as far as juxtaposition goes, Nintendo couldn't have set up a bigger one if they tried. You might enjoy the shit out of this level, but try and hold on to that when you're ground-pounding meteorites into massive Bowser in a scenario that isn't anywhere near as awesome as it sounds. It must take more effort to ruin this. Nostalgia is very special. It doesn't even have to be a good thing that you remember. Nostalgia has this unbelievable habit of augmenting anything through the sheer power of, hey, I remember that. So, for maximum reminiscing potency, how about we take the entire location of the first game and make it a retrospective level in the fourth game? Shadow Moses Island is waiting, guys.
Metal Gear Solid 4 was some pretty heavy fan service. There was a story in there, there was a plot, and it wrapped up the entire Metal Gear saga quite nicely. But there was an awful lot of fan service in there, which you'd appreciate if you've played the previous games in the series, but if you haven't, it's not really going to ring home that much with you.
I swear to you, the goosebumps when you hear the best is yet to come are up there with any moment in the entire Metal Gear library. It's been 10 years since Metal Gear Solid, 9 in-game years since the events of the first game, and for some, it'll feel like they've never left. It might seem a bit lazy to recycle an area from a previous installment like this, but let's not forget that this is where Snake made his name, where Metal Gear as a franchise took off. Returning to this ancient, partially abandoned military base one last time might drive home feelings of this badass action hero is falling apart at the seams too, but Shadow Moses still provides a lot of poignancy. And if that doesn't float your boat, you'll have a fun time witnessing all the Easter eggs and flashbacks. Again, not as powerful if you didn't play the previous games, but if you did, you'll absolutely love it. Let's see just how many people I can annoy by putting a mission from Call of Duty on here. I haven't said anything too contentious for a while. I reckon I've accumulated some controversy points. And I can't think of any better way to use them with a level and a half from Call of Duty Modern Warfare. It's been a while, but it's time to go back to a level that, oh by the way, massive spoilers, came the fuck out of nowhere and certainly shocked me. Makes you think that Treyarch were onto something when they named it Shock and Awe. Yeah, this level. A level that, for the most part, ticks along at a steady pace, nothing too outstanding, but not exactly a grind. That is until it's time to leave. One does not simply leave a battlefield without having their helicopter caught in a nuclear blast, that much I can assure you. But then, we're not done, because this level has the audacity to do something that immediately cemented it as an all-time favourite. It's one thing witnessing a nuclear explosion firsthand, but it's a completely different thing staggering around in the fallout as the city crumbles around you. But hey, Call of Duty 4 is just another generic as fuck war game, am I right?
I remember when I first put Shock and Awe into a countdown, people said, "Oh wow, that's incredible, putting a nuke in an FPS game, fucking incredible." No, I'll tell you why, because there are nukes in FPS games, that quite a lot of them have it, but not a lot of them show what happens, and it's pretty grim, in case you can't tell. I know they show up in like Fallout, but you never actually get caught in what happens afterwards.
I've heard a lot about some games getting really good when it gets going. Don't worry man, it gets exciting after a couple of hours. No, that's not an acceptable thing for a game to do. A good game should grab you by the throat and say, look at me, I'm fucking awesome and you're fucking awesome for buying me. And I think it's safe to say that no game's done that better than BioShock. Apart from surviving a plane crash, which would be enough to get anyone's attention, the first BioShock game starts by showing you the world you're going to be exploring for the next 12 hours. And my god. Oh yeah, don't worry, it gets good after a few hours. Nope, Welcome to Rapture lays its cards on the table from the very start, and it's a damn fancy royal flush too. It's been copied since in other BioShock games, but this set the standard that they all try to match. There's not a lot of combat, though you do get a wrench at the end of it, but it's all about taking in your new surroundings and working out roughly what this new game is going to have you do.
If you know anything about BioShock, the things that are told to you very, very gradually. I mean, there's not too many great big lines of exposition saying that all this stuff happened and here's some backstory. Anything that is told to you, you don't get fed straight to you. And I think the opening level sets us up perfectly for the rest of the game.
Wow, we've got very far through this video without even mentioning Legend of Zelda. I suppose that's a good thing though. With so many unbelievably good dungeons and areas to consider, this is hardly an easy spot to call, but then again, I've already done that video before and it's not like my opinion has changed much.
What I look for in a Zelda dungeon, among other things, are some challenging puzzles, a decent boss fight, a pretty good dungeon item, and maybe some lore, some backstory, something to chew on afterwards. And at least in my eyes, there's only one dungeon that fits this bill perfectly.
Perhaps unsurprisingly for people who've seen the list about Zelda dungeons, this spot belongs to Majora's Mask Stone Tower Temple. Honestly, I think the closest a Zelda dungeon has ever come to perfection. To such an extent that I don't know where to start here. Fuck. Right, the Stone Tower Temple happens near the end of Majora's Mask, the last one before you go stop that scary looking moon, but it's not tied to a particular race or transformation mask. This means that you end up using all three of them as well as your vast collection of items at this point in the game. The puzzles as a result are hugely varied and can require a bit of lateral thinking. Even more so when you get the light arrows, the great item they are, and flip the entire fucking temple upside down. Now we're talking, now shit just got incredibly real. It's such a strange feeling going from room to room and seeing what they look like now. Endless sky where there used to be water, a ceiling made of lava. That's the sound of your mind trying to keep up. And then there's a bit of cheeky backstory with potential ties to the Tower of Babel and flipping the temple over so you build towards hell where you fight two giant worms, where you make yourself massive and throw them around like Bowser in the 3D remake. I'm gonna stop there, we could be here for some time otherwise. Usually when someone dies in a video game, someone important to the game's plot, usually a good guy, the game calms down a bit. Takes a little time off to allow the player to understand just what happened. You usually get some cutscenes, a bit of exposition, or maybe the game just fast forwards by a little bit so you get to play with the main characters that stop mourning. What you don't expect to happen is to be put straight back into the fray.
The old Fire Emblem games really made you feel that the characters you had at your disposal were human, by the fact that in the classic games, when they died in battle, they were gone. You're not getting them back. They don't respawn in the next round, they are gone. And the key word in all of that is the word classic.
Hey guys, guess what? Spoilers, sort yourself out. Fire Emblem Awakening may have given you the option to not lose dead characters forever, but that didn't mean that it was immune from story-related deaths. Fast forward to chapter... Have we got all the spoiler people out of the room yet? Alright, great. Fast forward to chapter 9, simply called Emerin, and the bad guys have invaded the capital city and captured the main character's sister, who's also the queen. You probably already knew this if you're still here. Cut to a decision between the life of Emerin and the Fire Emblem, and Emerin makes the choice herself by jumping off a cliff. Yeah, didn't see that one coming, or maybe you did, the title, yeah. But we're just getting started. There's barely enough time for the dust to settle before you're thrown straight into another battle. Seriously, it feels like there isn't any cooldown at all after Emerin's death, and that's why you get the very strong sense that no one wants to be there. You can understand that the good guys aren't keen, but what makes this chapter stand out was how your opponents also don't want to fight you. Both sides of the forces in the chapter renewal simply have to go about their business in the way that the game expects and fight as normal. Except this all happens with music that can't be described as battle music. It's such a strange scenario, like losing a loved one and then having to go sit an exam at school, knowing that you've just got to get on with it and plough through it. It's a fucking masterclass of emotions.
This has been Rabbit Luigi, and I like to think that because Fire Emblem Awakening brought in this idea of people dying in battle and coming back at the end of it, it meant that when someone dies in the story, that hits pretty damn hard.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. This top 10 marks the end of my first month of weekly countdowns, having top 5s every week, but a top 10 at the end. Hopefully I can keep this going for a bit. It's not too straining, to be frank with you, so I should be fine. You can leave any suggestions for top 5s if you like, but I've got next week's one already sorted out via the votes on Twitter. Which brings me to Twitter and Facebook. They're over here.